Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Texas Governor Greg Abbott defending the border, telling the feds off, getting over 15 million views in the first 7 hours on X Twitter. Now, that was a couple days ago, and this is a little bit long, but I believe the context is important as well as the historical significance. So, we do have a couple of people who are reviewing this later in the show, or we're taking on their take, so to say. So, if you want to actually hear the whole context, listen now, but nevertheless, I'll dive in. So before this document, Governor Greg Abbott says, quote, my statement on Texas's constitutional right to self-defense, unquote. And I wrote these statistics down. So within 24 hours, you got 49.8 million views and 153,000 likes. That's the most viral thing I've seen ever from a politician, including Trump, Obama, Vivek. I haven't seen a response that overwhelmingly viewed and then supported. And spoiler, even Elon chips in. So, again, this is a little bit of a long document from his desk. Well, probably his desk, maybe a laptop these days, but nevertheless. I'll go ahead and read this document from Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Quote, the federal government has broken the compact... What? I was going to say, subscribe now because perhaps it'll fix my speaking ineptitudes, of which I have many. However, I will attempt to power through. If you watch the old videos where I have less subscribers, lots more speaking errors, believe it or not, but they've gotten a little bit better over the time. So if you could click that button, I'd greatly appreciate it, as always. Quote, the federal government has broken the compact between the United States and states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. Despite having been put on notice in a series of letters, one of which I delivered to him by hand, President Biden has ignored Texas's demand and that he performs his constitutional duties. Unquote. Now he breaks it down into 3 bullet points. So, quote, bullet point 1, President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress instead of prosecuting immigrants for the illegal crime of the illegal entry. President Biden has sent his lawyers into federal courts to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. Bullet point 2, President Biden has instructed his agencies to ignore federal statutes that mandate the detention of illegal immigrants. This effect is to illegally allow their en masse parole into the United States. Bullet point 3. By wasting taxpayer dollars to tear open Texas border security infrastructure, President Biden has enticed illegal immigrants away from the 28 legal entry points along the state's southern border, bringing bridges where nobody drowns and into the dangerous waters of the Rio Grande, unquote. So again, those are the 3 bullet points. Now the last 3 paragraphs. Quote, under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our southern border in just 3 years. That is more than the population of 33 different states in the country. This illegal refusal to protect this state has inflicted unprecedented harm on the people all across the United States. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats like cartels smuggling millions of illegal immigrants across the border. That is why the framers included both Article 5 and 4, which promises that the federal government, quote, shall protect each state against evasion, and Article 1 and 10, Clause 3, which acknowledges, quote, the state's sovereign interest to protect their borders, unquote. Arizona v. United States, 567 U.S. 387 419, 2012, Scalia J. dissenting. Continue last paragraph, quote, the failure of the Biden administration to fulfill its duties, the duties imposed by Article 4 or 5 has triggered the Article 1 and 10, Clause 3, which reserves to this state the right of self-defense. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article 1 and 10, Clause 3 to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. The authority is the supreme call of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority, as well as state law, to secure Texas's border. Unquote. Signed, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas. Perhaps one of the most prolific moments, politically speaking, in our lifetime which, again, a lot of people are making parallels to all those years ago. Now, again, that went extremely viral within 24 hours, getting 49.8 million views, 153,000 likes, which, or the youth might say, it went viral to say the least. Now, going into the comments section, you have Elon Musk chiming in. He says, quote, Texas is absolutely right. This administration is deliberately breaking the law by aiding and abetting illegal immigration at an unprecedented scale, unquote. And that got 50,000 likes. I don't think I've ever seen a response that popular, which is astronomically successful. Now, it's actually, I think we use the term brave way too much in society these days. It is perhaps pretty gutsy for Elon to do that, considering one of Elon's largest customers for his businesses is the U.S. federal government in and of themselves, and agencies like NASA for his company SpaceX. So it's pretty interesting to see even Elon speaking out when this could cost him a lot of dollars. You also have another, I'm not sure, it's not the top by the number of likes. I don't know if he pays to do this, but Luke Zaleski, he's always number 2 comment, perhaps because he's more of a contrarian, so maybe X is trying to give you 2 contrarian statements in the beginning, although that doesn't always hold true. Let me know if you have a theory in the comments, but he's very much active on political commentary on X Twitter. And if you look at his profile, he is, as some might say, a radical leftist. He's very much that side of the political aisle. Now, excuse me, Luke Zaleski says, quote, MAGA now has the wedge to incite a civil war and war with Mexico it has long sought. It's also obvious, it seems inevitable, and the fact that ACB is the deciding vote is weird, creepy, or no, I guess there, kissing heart emoji, whatever. When Putin finally gets his North America fracture thanks to MAGA, can we admit the insurrection happened, unquote. They got 987 likes. And interestingly enough, as the youth might say, he was ratioed to say the least. We'll do 1 or 2 comments in that regard. The awakening populist says, quote, or I don't know, maybe the federal government could do their job and none of this would have happened, unquote. That got 190 likes. Mild-mannered maniac says, quote, you can thank Joe Biden for this if you want, and it's not even close to that level of Bakri Fantasy Island. Jesus, dude, get off the drugs, unquote, getting 299 likes. Let's see here. So as youth might say, he was ratioed to say the least. Now, other top comments, scrolling through this, you have Paul DeZuspa saying, quote, the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president who does nothing to stop external threats, unquote. They got 11,000 likes. Let's see here. Humble Flow responded to that saying, quote, President Biden is anti-American. He clearly hates your country, unquote, getting 3,000 likes. Let's see here. Luke Zaleski chimed in again. And again, it's not the top by number of likes, but it's in the order that I'm seeing it. And he says, quote, if you're in the National Guard and law enforcement, you're now facing the possibility you may have to decide if you're willing to fire on American citizens and Mexican citizens and anyone else the reckless MAGA movement is working to pit against one another like powder and flint, unquote. Which, again, if you look at the history of the U.S. government, the federal governments, they've fired a lot on our civilians. But nevertheless, Tim Young says, quote, God bless Texas for defending our entire nation, unquote, getting 6.2 thousand likes, which is quite a few to say the least. Let's see here. Clandestine says, quote, 1776 music intensifies and is perhaps one of the most prolific paintings in history of Washington crossing the Potomac. That got 8.6 thousand likes. A lot of people with the Texas flag getting between 3,000 and 4,000 likes. Ooh, here's a contrarian. Interesting. We do have some contrarian statements brewing to the surface. Travis Allen says, quote, it's time for Biden to send federal troops into Texas to remind you all who won the Civil War, unquote. They got 2.5 thousand likes. Noticing trends again says, quote, arrest the feds, Abbott, secure your border and your legacy in one glorious action, unquote, getting 3,000 likes. The Texas one, well, touch screens. They could be touch screens could be an asset and a menace at the same time. So again, the Texas one says, we will not budge, Fed boys pick a side, unquote, getting 1.8 thousand likes. Memes on Libs, which I would say A+ for marketing, but they did not respond to any meme format. But nevertheless, memes on Libs said, quote, Texas is doing more for America than our federal government, unquote. They got 5.5 thousand likes. Let's see here. Colleen Hoffman says, quote, hold the line, Texas and the rest of America is with you. Gained 3.9 thousand likes. Let's see. A lot of Texas flags, which many would say is the best flag of all. Gained thousands of likes. Let's see here. So it'll be interesting to see. This is perhaps one of the most contentious or debated topics for decades is immigration. And again, the United States has seen unprecedented immigration in the past couple of years. That's just a fact. And cities don't have the resources to actually handle them. And many would say it's not ethical to basically have people cut in line for all the people from other countries who don't have that geographic benefit of being right at the southern border. In fact, it's literally cutting in line. So it'll be interesting to see at the end of the day what happens, because even cities like New York City with Mayor Eric Adams, and he's a Democrat, and for years when I was growing up, it was always the rhetoric of Republicans hate immigrants, Democrats love them, Democrats have sanctuary states. Well, they have so few resources in places like Chicago and New York City. Even they are starting to say we need some type of immigration policy, so you don't have these type of resource constraints, or the cities just cannot handle and help all these people, which inherently is dangerous because, again, you have to have the resources to accommodate additional people, which you could increase over time, but these big rushes it's just simple math. It just doesn't add up. So it'll be interesting to see is, of course, you have the national security concern as well. But, right now, looking at the comments, it's overwhelmingly supportive of Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And I was going to say, it'll be interesting to see at the end of the day what really happens. But as I always say, time shall tell. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today again. Trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of January. So click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, giving me a like or a down or even a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know what I can do better to improve the show. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight,